Hey guys, the Civic is off the trailer, parked outside, and it actually drove here under its own power. So this episode is going to be me going through the process of getting this car that actually has been parked for 8 years in a field, started running, driving, moving, all of that stuff. There's ups and downs, but we got her going, and stay with me. We're going to get this thing turned into a rally car before long. Well, it's been raining for 3 days now, but I'm done waiting. I'm gonna go ahead and wash this thing, probably take the engine cover off and give it a good spray down. Hopefully make it a little bit cleaner to work on. We're gonna do a little before and after here. Thing's pretty filthy. This is a neat surprise. There's what I would assume is white lithium grease, I think. Yeah, I believe that's what that is. We are looking way better, but there's still some of that grease all through my everything. So we're gonna hit it with Birkebau gum cutter. Here, let's hit this. All right, here's our after. Pretty big difference. It actually looks like something I feel like working on now. Pretty excited about it. Not really. It's gonna be a lot of work. All right, got it off the trailer, jacked up, wheel off. I'm gonna just go ahead and tear into it, and hopefully, I'd like to get the trans out yet today. It is 3 o'clock, and I have somewhere to be at like 5:30, so hopefully at least get the trans out. This thing, you know, it's got some rust, but it looks like mostly just rust from sitting, so hopefully things aren't too seized up. I probably shouldn't even have opened my mouth and said that, but look at this wild steering setup on these things. Honda is obsessed with wire clips everywhere. Everything's wire clipped every 2 inches. It's crazy. I did a little side quest and found some metal flakes in the coolant. So I went ahead and pulled the radiator so I could flush it. But also, I feel like I need a water pump. That's probably, I'm guessing, where the flakes are coming from. I did find a couple problems while I was in here. We need control arms on both sides, or at least control arm bushings. I think I'm going to buy a complete control arm because we also need ball joints. Tie rod on this side needs done. I'll probably just go ahead and do a pair of them. That intake boot is ripped. The oil looked terrible. I drained a little bit of oil just to see if there was anything in it other than filth, and it's just really bad. That's trans fluid. It looks normal. I don't see anything in the trans fluid, which makes me feel really good. And we're not looking too awfully bad. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple jacks into the subframe, drop the subframe, and keep moving. That looks right? We hung up on. Oh, freaking AC line's bolted to it. Subframe is out. Axle's out. Got to get the other axle out. And I have like 2 bolts in the transmission still, so not looking bad. Okay, this is pretty good. This is how bad this clutch is. Clutch disc isn't even, I mean, it's just like there's pieces of it falling out here. Not even fibers, like chunks. So homie straight up drove this thing until it just wouldn't move. Okay. This stuff desperately needs cleaned. I am not putting a filthy trans back in the car. Let's go through the transmission going back in checklist. New pilot, flywheel's torqued, pressure plate's torqued, all the surfaces are clean. We got grease on the new throwout bearing. That all looks good. I think we are golden. All right, guys, at this point, I am done losing sleep over whether or not this thing could potentially need a head gasket. There wasn't any coolant in the oil, but there was definitely something oily in the coolant, as well as some like aluminum flakes in the coolant. So, you know, I flushed the radiator. I didn't see anything crazy coming out of it. And really the amount of like oily residue in the coolant wasn't that crazy bad. But before I keep going, I just want to see. So we're going to put oil back in the engine. We're going to fill the trans. I'm going to start the car and let it run. I haven't actually ran this car for more than a couple of seconds because when I bought it, the alternator was froze up. I did get this alternator unstuck. So it spins, not great. But I'm interested to see if it actually makes power. So we're gonna go ahead, put the radiator back in, fill it up, and fire it up and see what happens. Think I can get this without spilling it? Nope. All right, guys, it's back together enough to run. Filled up with coolant. Found these awesome little cracks that are already leaking. Oh my gosh. Man, this thing, I'm starting to get a little demoralized. Let's see if it fires up. It does run. It looks like it's charging. All right. Let's see what we got here. The alternator is charging. Unbelievable. When I say that thing was stuck, I mean like the alternator, I legitimately, I let it soak for probably 2 nights. When I first got it, I sprayed it, and the next day I sprayed it. And I pulled on it until I thought it was gonna break something, and it finally broke loose. So I can't believe it's actually charging. So one good thing. All right, guys, so here's where we're at. Yee. The car was idling high, wouldn't not idle high. So, I only ran it for a couple of seconds before. I don't know if that's a new problem or just something that it's been doing. I have that radiator leak. I also found my OBD reader would not connect. And that's because the OBD port was just like screwed up. I don't know. I cleaned it with a bunch of contact cleaner, shoved some dielectric in it, moved it in and out, and that sort of helped the situation, but there's still a problem with it. Also found this window regulator doesn't work. The AC isn't working, which is something I'd like to at least have for now. So at this point, I'm a little bit defeated with the car. Spared you guys from watching me, but these are the tools that was required to get the idle air control valve apart on this. I don't know if we got it freed up. I didn't have the goofy 5-point. I had 5 points, but just not the right size. So tried to grab them, spin them out, couldn't get it. I do believe that the idle air control, I'm 99% sure the idle air control valve is the problem, and with why it's idling high, because with the car running, I can reach in and kind of cover. I figured that was the port, but I can cover that port and the idle goes back down. So the throttle plate's closed. That's the only place that the car can be getting air from, unless there's some massive vacuum leak in the intake manifold, which, the way things have been going, wouldn't put it past it. Just had a hose mishap trying to fill the radiator, but I got it back together. We're gonna see what happens. I'm going inside either way. Okay, that's probably about where it should idle on a cold start. So that makes me feel a little bit better. I mean, like a very little bit better. Cool. Well, I'm done for tonight, but my goodness, listen to how loud that accessory drive is. I don't even know if you guys can hear me over that. The accessory drive is super loud. Got new pulleys coming. It's gonna be a little bit. I'm gonna slap this car together and pull it outside, and we'll get back to it some other time. Going inside for the night. All right, guys, we are on day, I think, 6 of owning this car. So it has a new clutch. It does run now. The alternator's charging. It's got new brakes under it. And we also found like a ton of more issues. I have a lot of parts on the way. I have all new suspension for the front, new tie rods. I went ahead and after, I was pretty upset last night about it, honestly. It was just like the 1, 2, 3 punch of, oh, it needs a radiator. I couldn't get my OBD scan tool to even plug into the port yesterday after I got it running. Oh, the window regulator. I found out the window regulator doesn't work, which is why there was duct tape here. So, and I'm sure why the door is all torn apart. After kind of, and all that stuff happened in a matter of like 10 minutes. So I was pretty upset about it. Whatever. I slept off my despair and stopped pouting and went ahead and sucked it up. I ordered a cheap aluminum radiator off of eBay. Not a permanent solution. You know, it needed a radiator 100%. It was going to have one. So the option was either a cheap replacement for $80 or $110 aluminum one. The aluminum one, at least I can repair. Plastic ones, I don't feel quite as good about repairing. So I can also, you know, down the road, if I upgrade to something that's better than just a cheap one, I can always carry that one as a spare, which as a rally car, it's important to have spares. So that's where we're at. Right now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get the car off the jack stands. I have to work on the Project Talon. Hopefully we'll start shooting some video for it, and you guys will see that whole debacle. But we're going to get this off the jack stands, and pretty exciting. It's actually going to move under its own power for the first time in 5 years. I'm excited to see it. You know, hopefully I'll start feeling a little bit better about the car after a couple more days pass and I work on the Talon. But let's get at it. That things outside, moves, stops, turns, none of it well, but it does do it. I've been saying 5 years. This thing has tags from 10/16, so it's been like 8, which kind of adds up. 5 years is pretty long, but not that long. 8 years adds up with all the stuff going on with this machine. Fuel gauge is confirmed working. That's awesome. One less thing I have to worry about. Small victories with this thing. And you know, one thing, while I was messing with it outside here, I noticed like it actually, you can mostly hear it from the front's so loud because the accessory drive's so noisy. It idles nice. Like it's just sitting here chugging away. Doesn't sound like it has any misfires. We did get a check engine light back on, but in general, the car sounds fine. Engine sounds quiet, or at least what I can hear over the noisy pulleys. So for now, I'm just gonna park the thing. Yeah, we'll get back at it here in a week or 2 maybe, and hopefully get the radiator, suspension, all that stuff going. So see you guys then.